Alright, I wanted to share with everybody the new screen recorder feature that we're developing and tweaking and fine-tuning, and it'll be out in the next month as an update for Kinesio Capture Pro. What we want to do is sort of share the thought process behind it. So what I'm going to do as an example is this is a posterior hip loading progression I developed using a Viper the other day, and I kind of want to share my thought process. Big issue I've been seeing with my athletes is the inability to load the posterior hip, the glutes, the hamstrings, the calves. A lot of times when these areas are tight or restricted, they tend to be very quad dominant, and the knee will actually dive forward. So when they do an anterior lunge, a lateral lunge, the knee goes over top of the foot, and they can't actually load the posterior side. So by doing a posterior load right there, when they're lunging backwards, their mass and momentum, the only thing that can really help decelerate that load when their mass and momentum is driving them backwards. And the great thing is this whole posterior complex gets proprioceptively awakened, eccentrically excited, and it's ready to be utilized. Now you're getting a nice load, and then we can release that energy, triple extension through the ankle, hip, and knee, and it channels right through the Viper. I really love the Viper for this because you can transfer that energy. It's really powerful. I really love the lateral tilt series with a Viper. But one issue, again, is if the posterior hip is tight, they have an inability to access that tissue, and they may tend to toe out with that foot they land on and not able to load the glutes as much. They tend to load the quads more. So what I like is this little agility where you're actually hopping over the Viper posteriorly, eccentrically loading that whole posterior chain again. Look at that tissue, and you think about the lengthening that's going on right in that left hip, hamstrings. Think about that lateral hamstrings. You think about the real and relative rotation. Think about the pelvis and how it's moving in space there with that foot fixed. And you just get such a nice load, and then watch him channel it. Now he gets that nice, then you go into that lateral loading and releases that energy. Great way to load that posterior hip complex. What we're doing here, this is a posterior toss. So what we're doing is this sort of a more advanced progression, but we kind of want to see where he gets motion. He's just going to do a posterior lunge, or a lunge to balance, decelerates it. Think about that posterior hip being loaded right now, and then watch this release of energy. The big thing we're looking at, where does motion occur, but where doesn't it occur? Get nice triple extension through the ankle, knee, and hip is what should be happening. The big thing I'm noticing is he really lacks hip extension. Look at that hip right there. Okay? He has the inability to actually drive his pelvis forward and get through it. Watch what happens when I perform it. Okay? So I'll perform the posterior lunge. And then watch how I'm able to clear that hip, that left hip. Right there. The pelvis is driving forward, able to get hip extension and allow the pelvis and release that energy. These are just some examples. Obviously, you could use a number of different maneuvers, but for all you skill acquisition coaches out there, this is going to be an invaluable tool to help teach your clients and also send home workable assignments home to your clients with your audio commentary on top. Let us know your thoughts. We're always tweaking and trying to make our products better for your needs.